Funny if we do an episode one day where we just do like all the stuff we've talked about before we start recording. Just go, got to tell you this before we record. And that's the episode.
I'll definitely get cancelled.
Yeah.
Welcome to Drum and Drummer, a podcast focused on drums, drumming and drummers. I'm George Pickering and that's Ben Winty, and we are both professional drummers in this business we call music. So stick around and join us as we pass the time whilst trying to stay in time.
I don't want to sound like an old woman, but I've never seen rain like this. Why does it always rain on me? That's the start.
That's the start, because it's been very rainy.
I was torn between that and Raining Men.
Sure.
But it is just raining water. It's constant.
Just
constant
rain.
Rain, Wilson.
Rain, Wilson.
How are you? You right?
Good. Yeah. I feel like I'm getting through I don't know, you have those little periods where it's like, everything's a bit hard. It's a bit tough.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And you just got to get your head down and plough through. And yeah, the rain doesn't help because you're like, that's depressing.
It is depressing.
That's depressing, isn't it? But yeah, good. Wedding season's done for me. It ended last Tuesday. Hereford.
Yep. Good gig?
Pretty good, mate. Yeah. Not really much to report. See how you riddle me this. See what you'd have done in this situation. Okay.
Then.
So, yeah, easy gig. You know, lovely people. Enjoyed it. We finished playing at 10:30.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had to put music on till midnight.
Was that the allocated thing? That's what they wanted?
Yeah, that's what was specified. And they'd made a playlist specifically for 10:30 till midnight.
Yep.
Now, before we started playing, the bar were like, oh, we've got their playlist for before you guys go on. And they had their own wall-mounted PA speakers. And we were like, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Already see what you're thinking.
Yeah. So they put on the music before we played. And it's not quite as loud as maybe what we could get our PA to later on, but we're thinking, hello, hang on a minute. We got a long old drive. We could potentially finish at 10:30 and get the bar to put the music on, and off we go. Easy load out, you know what I mean? Little side door.
Oh, lovely.
Little side space for cases.
Yeah.
What you want, you know? Yeah. But we were like, we put the music on in between our sets, and then it was just this hour and a half afterwards. And we finished playing at about 20 to 11 by the time we finished playing. And we were like, let's just not put our music on straight away. And then it was like, actually, I think we should.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to us, the cable that connects the Wi-Fi router to the desk had come out.
Right.
So we couldn't access the Behringer XAir app. We couldn't put our music on. We were like, we're frozen out of our app. We can't control the faders. So there was quite a period of silence, no music. But it was okay because the bride and groom were talking to us going, oh, we loved it, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, okay, we should put our music on. Oh, shit, we can't actually get the music on. What's going on? So by that point, we said, to the bride, like, oh, we've just got a problem with our thing. And she said, I'll go and speak to the bar. So the bar put the playlist on. So we're like, oh, we've kind of semi-accidentally got the music playing through the in-house PA. And it's loud, not very loud.
Yeah.
People are still dancing. The room's quite bright, so it feels quite weird anyway. So we just like, well, let's leave our PA up. We worked out the cable had come out. Let's leave our PA up, but let's just get everything else packed away. Drums, guitar, bass, mics, all that sort of stuff. And we're like, can we just now get away with putting our PA? So we were doing it kind of slowly. And then we did. We got the PA.
What time was that?
11:15-ish.
Yeah.
And we're like, it's just the lights.
Yeah.
It's just the lights that are up now. And it's going to be quite obvious if we turn them off.
Yeah.
So we were like, do you know what? Let's just wait. All we got to do is put the lights down and chuck them in the van, and we're off. So, and then I was just like, the bride and groom were lovely and really enjoyed it. And I was like, do you know what? Okay, I'm just going to ask her. I'm just going to go up and ask her and say, you know, it's just our lights up. Do you mind? We've got a really long drive. Do you mind if we hit the road?
Yeah.
And I would just pluck up the courage and be like, okay. And then I'd be like, no, don't. And I was like, okay. And I did it.
Yeah.
20 to 12. There was a moment where she watched it because they were still dancing with friends. There was a moment, the song just sort of finished. She was sort of on her own. I just went up and I said, oh, thanks very much for having us again. She was, oh, we loved it, we loved her. I went, oh, it's just our lights left up. Like, we've got everything else packed up. We've got a long drive. I'm just wondering if it's all right if we just can hit the road a little early, but you've still got the music. And she went, oh, yeah, it's absolutely fine. Cheers. Off we went. And then we started packing we just got the lights away. And Neil was like, did you ask her? And I was like, yeah. I was like, cool.
Yeah.
So it's that thing of, if we'd have asked earlier, we could have been on the road earlier.
Yeah.
But
you didn't want to take the piss because it could have looked like, oh, I can't work this thing. How do you? Oh, do you want to put it on bar? Yeah, okay. And then if you asked at 10 to 11 or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact you asked is nice, because if you'd have just left, here's a good story. A mate of mine, his function band once playing a gig, and they were contracted to play until midnight. And apparently it gets to like 11:30 and all the guests have gone, and the bride and groom were just clearing down the tables and stuff. Like, they were the only people left. And they finished their set at, I think, 10 to midnight, and were like, thank you. Like, you know, see you later. Literally just the bride and groom and some cleaners in the room. And so they're packing down. They're starting to take their stuff out at 5 to midnight. This is insane. And the bride goes, hey, what are you doing? And they were like, oh, well, we're done. Like, we, you know, like, there's no one here. Like, she was like, no, I asked you to play till midnight. So they brought their guitars back in, and then they played Chelsea Dagger up until midnight, and then they stopped. And I was like, that's insane. So point being, good thing you did ask. Do you know what I mean?
You never know.
Yeah. It's mad.
Yeah. That is.
But yeah, that's wedding season for you, Romeo. Done.
It is. Yeah. Maybe some stuff will come in for Christmas. Usually does. Can't guarantee it. Who knows what's going to happen? Our corporate Christmas party's dead because of COVID. We don't know. Have they gone, do you know what? Saves fucking tons of money. Let's not bother.
Yeah.
But I just did a few stats, popped them on the Twitter. For me, wedding season started on the 9th of April, ended 1st of November. I did 38 gigs. Shortest round trip, 8 miles. That was the Pompey gig we did.
I was going to say, yeah, was that? I was on that, yeah.
Longest round trip, 506 miles. Liverpool.
Yeah.
Total distance travelled this wedding season, 6,408 miles.
Yeah. I mean, the distance you travelled is impressive. I'd say what's more impressive is the fact that you know the distance, because I have no clue. It's just a chaos of, you know, worn out tyres and scratched paintwork for me. But yeah, it's quite a way.
It is. I mean, how far would that get you? How far away is New York?
How far did you go?
6,500 miles.
How far away is the moon?
Ooh.
Because I feel like it's not as far as you think. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's quite far.
It's quite far, but like you could think, oh, it's hundreds of thousands of miles. But I feel like it's less than you think.
Well, it's 238,000 miles.
Yeah.
So I got a little bit there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did a chunk of it. A small chunk.
Good chunk of the moon.
Just want to see. We'll cut this out.
No, eat this all in. This will get us up the charts.
For some reason I can't type. What's going on? Well, you've seen, okay, London to New York, 3,500.
Yeah.
So I kind of did to New York and back.
You did.
All right.
Yeah. Good for you.
So, well, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think there's any. Well, I'll tell you what, I got all the distances, mate. 2 words. You ready for them? Tax, return.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean.
Calculate that mileage, baby.
Yeah. See,
I've got a spreadsheet.
That's where you're clever.
Calculates
You do have
it
a
all
spreadsheet.
automatically.
I just do it in April. I go,
On a
right,
bit of paper.
where was the gig? Yeah,
Like
you
Homer
go.
Simpson, you just lob it through the doors of the post office.
Yeah. You're not
That'll do.
Flanders. Yeah, you're like, oh, I put some mints in there for the nice tax man.
Unwrap the tax man, unravel the scrap bit of paper, and it just says gigs 12. Cool. A lot of assumption here.
Yeah, yeah, you're being generous with 12. It's probably more like 4. Speaking of gigs, though, I did a gig the other day with Wren, and I met Connor Griffiths for the first time.
Friend of the show, Connor.
Friend of the show. So I'll explain again.
We chatted to him a while ago, didn't we?
We did. And
Lovely
he's
lad.
someone who you've met him a few times,
Yep.
I believe, at your studio, but I'd never met him. But we've always had I feel like we've always had each other on Instagram. And then after we went on the show, we sort of became meme buddies. You know what I mean? We send drum memes to each other and stuff.
Oh,
And then
I don't get any of these.
and well, you're barely on Instagram. If you send me a reel, and then you'll get inundated with reels every day from me. You'll be in my reel sendies. Anyway,
You could be one of my real friends.
that's better.
It's Monday morning. Can do better than that.
So anyway, I was like, hey man, I got this gig. This is a plug here. I got this gig at the Joiners on Friday, 25th of November. If you want to come to that. He was like, turns out, this was a good way to get out of coming to that gig. He goes, turns out I'm actually playing with you a different gig, you know? I was like, oh, cool, we get to meet. And he came in at the perfect time. So the gig was at Key West Studios in Gosport. It's a terrible town, but it's a lovely venue. And I was sound checking the kit, and you don't really have to do much to sound good because it's a church, so it's all reverb, baby.
Well, it's Jesus, just making it sound good.
Exactly. And
one of the reasons he sacrificed himself was for
sick beats,
acoustics.
Yeah,
you know. He thought, what I'll do is they'll put some big buildings up, and then one day a snare's going to sound wicked.
Yeah.
In one of these.
Yeah. And people will go, is it because the ceiling's so high? You'll be like, nah.
Oh, Jesus.
Because I died for your drums.
I died for your rims.
Yeah, there you go. I was like, what rhymes with sins? God, you are on fire today.
Woo! Feel the rush.
So I'm sound checking the kit, and who do I see come in? Connor Griffiths. And I'm
unmistakable. Like, the Mohawk.
Well, not just that. He's also about 8 foot tall, which is surprising.
Because of the Mohawk.
Nah, I don't want to height shame him. I feel bad for that. I saw a thing with Richard Osman the other day saying he gets height shamed a lot and he feels really like vulnerable and stuff. So I was like, I'll have to remember that next time I see a tall person.
I think I'm in the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a lanky goggle-eyed freak.
Which, Connor, we're not saying you are.
No. You know, but people ask me for help in the supermarket getting things down from shelves.
Yeah.
But no one asks me what the weather's like up there.
Yeah. No one asks you to play on their basketball team.
Exactly. Although I did do basketball at school.
So he walks in and I was sound checking the kit and I was like, this sounds good. And he was just stood there. And then, after I finished, he was
shaking
like,
his head.
Yeah, God, head in his hands, fingers in his ears, and not at the same time. But then he came up to me and we were like, hey, how's it going? And this was funny, actually. He was there with an artist he was playing for called Mackenzie. And he was going, oh, this is the guy from the pod. And she was like, oh, yeah, I've listened to it. I was like, who? I don't even know you. I was like, am I famous now? But but no, we we instantly, it was like that, just chatting about drums, just couldn't stop. Hey, have you seen this ride I've got? I mean, there is a genuine thing with drummers. It's like as soon as you meet another drummer, it's like straight in with conversation. There's no like, so how's your day going? It's like, let's talk about this snare. You know what I mean? Straight in. And which leads me on to gig etiquette. Because after I'd sound checked, Connor sound checked afterwards, and he bought his own hardware case, even though you didn't need your own hardware. It was literally just, bring snare and kick pedal and cymbals, the breakables.
Well, yeah, for those who don't know, often it's bring your breakables, bring your breakables, bring your breakables. The breakables, drummers should know, is defined as, your cymbals, your snare, your kick pedal.
I learned.
You bring those and you use everything else.
Yeah.
Provided either by the venue, the festival, or the headline act.
And we'll get to that. I learned the hard way that a kick pedal is included in breakables. When I was about 17, I used to turn up to gigs just with cymbals and a snare. And then I went to sound check. It was like 4 bands on the bill. And there was no kick pedal. I'm like, oh shit, there's no kick, And I said to I said to one of the guys in the other band, I was like, could I use your kick pedal, please? He's like, nope, sorry, mate. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he felt the need to justify it. It was like, thing is, if anyone's going to break it, I'm going to break it. I was like, all right. Like, he was like in his 30s and big, and I was a kid. And I was like, okay, I'll ask someone else. So I asked someone else, and they were like, yeah, man, cool, no worries. But after that, I was like, okay, always bring my kit. But Connor bought his whole hardware bag, which is fair play, and he got his stool out. And he was like, mate, I'll use my own stool because I don't want you to. It was that we were the only drummers. Like, there was another artist, but it was acoustic. But he was like, I don't want you to have to reset.
Boring.
Yeah. He's like, I don't want you to have to reset your stool. So I'll just use my own stool. I was like, God, that's a nice gesture. Do you know what I mean? Like, he just,
Okay, question. So who provided the shells and hardware?
Oh, it was the studio. So even though I never like using the word headline, but even though we were the headline band, I didn't have to bring the kit, And I'll tell you, right, here's something. I'll tell you why I don't like using the word headline. Because if it's a gig where it's just put on by a venue and it's just an assortment of 3 or 4 bands and they're all at the same level, even if they're not all at the same level, it's still just like a gig. You know what I mean? I see like a headline gig as like everyone is there to see that band that's on last. And then no one knows the support acts. So I always hate it when people get really into like, oh yeah, I'm headlining the whatever. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're just on last.
I think when you're younger, you're like, oh, we're headlining a gig.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, you're not. Because no one knows who you are. And then you quickly realise, actually, headline slot's the worst slot to have.
Yeah.
You want to be middle.
Well, let's get to why headline is worse.
Sure.
Shall I begin?
Yeah.
You have to bring your own kit.
You have to bring your own
kit. For me,
kit.
That's the worst. You know what I mean? The joy of just turning up to a gig with just your breakables and you get to play on someone else's kit. Even if it's not your own, I don't have to bring anything. I can get the train home, I don't have to worry about parking or anything. But what other bad things are there about being the headline?
Well, I would say, especially, I found this a lot gigging in London, like with bands I was in there, you quite often realise that the mates of the bands on before you come and see them and then they go home.
Yeah. I've had that.
So actually the crowd should logically build up as the night goes on. But as you say, when it's a headline and it's not really a headline, it's just a bunch of local bands, the crowd swells, and then actually the peak time is the middle. People coming to see you get there early and see the middle band. People who've seen the first band are still there when the second band goes on. But then when you're just the last band, most people are like, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Including some of the other bands, fuck off.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting one. Gig etiquette. Watching the other bands. Do you watch the other bands?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Do you?
Why? Who are you on about?
No, it's just
Oh, I thought you were like, I was like, fuck, when did I not watch you? I watched you during Pork Pie Tears. I was a mess and I still stayed around for the whole of Oxygen Thief. Yeah, no, I do. I do. Because they've watched me. I'll tell you, as an example of that one, we had that once and we almost got into not a real fight, but a heated debate with the other band as to who was going to go on not last. Like we both wanted to go on. Basically, it was a gig in London and we were playing a student union in Kingston. And we were like, we were second to last, and the band that was on last were like, guys, can we please go on before you? Because we've got to be up early or something. We were like, we don't live here. We got to drive back. Yeah. And
they knew the score. They knew
yeah, exactly.
Penultimate band is the sweet spot. It.
And everything was running behind, so everything was on really late. And I think it was also a case of like we were told like, oh yeah, all the students would be there. They were, and then they left because they all went out, and we got on late after this band had played, and then that band left, as did the whole audience, and we played to no one.
Yeah.
And then I had to drive back to Brighton. But I was like, that's an example of like we were the headline band, but we really were not the headline band.
Yeah. Go back to drums. I'm on Team Connor with Bring My Hardware to the gig, and I used to do it with Oxygen Thief all the time because I'd have a very distrustful, to put it bluntly, most kits sound worse than mine, especially if they're like provided. For example, like festivals we do with Oxygen Thief, you had to use a drum kit provided, and it was usually like an Natal kit, especially at the 2000 Trees and Arctangent festivals, and I could just never get it quite how I wanted.
Yeah,
I was like, fuck it, I'm bringing my hardware. So I would literally get the crew to strip everything off the kit, and it would literally just be the kick and the toms. And I would set up, before we played, my stall, kick pedal, hardware, snare stand, and literally just put it on. Everything was where I wanted it. Take it off and replace it. So for me, I found it was quicker, and then it just meant I didn't dick around with time on the actual stage trying to get cymbals and stuff where I wanted them.
Yeah.
And so I just found that easier. And like, it's happened a few different ways. Like when we toured with In Me, I used his drums. I used their drum kit, which was cool. Then I think that one was quite early on. Then I learnt like, do you know what? Actually, I'm going to bring my own snare stand and stool as well. And then it was like, I'm just going to bring my whole hardware. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's not. But then I've done other tours where actually I can't use the headliner's kit, and I've got to set my drum kit up in front of the headliners. Yeah. Which is fine in some regards. I quite like that because I get to use my kit. Yeah. But I would find, I'd find it better to bring my whole hardware and then just use the shells. Yeah. But then when you're headlining, you know, the annoying thing is you set your kit up for sound check, and then by the time you get to play your slot, it's been moved around and everything's been changed. You kind of got to reset it. But even for me, if we're headlining, then, you know, the other drummers can use my kit. It's fine. Yeah. Which is incredibly different to a pissed up groom wanting to play his wedding. Well, also, it would be like so much more effort to be like bitter and be like, no, you got to bring your own kit for like a gig that's like, unless it's like headline in a big place. If it's like headline in a small venue, you're like, no, we're going to bring on another kit. It'd just be a bit silly. But I'll say this though, this is funny. So Connor with his ride cymbal, it's kind of like a funny joke now that every time I see him post a gig, I'm like, that ride's getting higher. And he's like, yeah, it is. And sure enough, when he played the gig, his cymbals are so high, it's ridiculous. And he was like, yeah, well, literally. And he was like, see if you can That's why he didn't want you using his stool, because it would take honestly 20 minutes to wind it down.
Yeah. And he was like, sit behind the kit, see how it feels. And I'm like, this is mental, Connor. This is insane. He's like, see if you can do your set.
That's why he needs the long drumsticks.
Yeah, I know. And for a minute, I I contemplated playing his setup. I was like, this is ridiculous. But it's happened the opposite. Go from a big stall to a small stall. The amount of gigs I played, this is probably why it's a good idea to bring a stall. Well, it is a good idea. Festival last year with Dutch Criminal Record, and the smallest drum stall I've ever seen in my life. And suddenly you're having to reach up to even get the snare, and you're like, I can't play now. You know, this is horrible. But I will say that, speaking of, you know, your kit being better than, you know, the shitty venue kit, I remember the first time I played on a kit that wasn't mine, and it was at a gig. Because as we talked about before, first drum kit, mine was some black drum kit from Nevada that was awful, but it was mine and I loved it. And I was like, this sounds great. Until I played my first, say, professional gig. And yeah, some guy bought his top of the range kit and it was mic'd. And I was like, oh, this is what a kit is. This is what it should be like. And yeah, it's just weird. It's just a constant, I don't know, learning curve, innit? Like the other day, right? So I'll tell you about this gig, the one I did with Connor. We did a sound check. This isn't to do with gig etiquette. This is just to do with gigging and stuff. And we did a sound check, and they were changing my monitor. It was weird. It was weird setup. We have like in-ears, but they just have the click and track from our laptop for the songs. And then there was also a stage monitor just for me. And we did a song, and I was like, yeah, it sounds great. And then they turned on my monitor and turned it way too loud, so I couldn't hear the click. And the click was on full. And I was like, guys, you're going to have to, and I was telling the singer, I was like, you're going to have to tell him to like really turn it down, like really turn the monitor down. And she was like, could you turn George's down a little bit? Like, I think she was a bit like, I'm not going to say what he's saying. I was like, fucking get that down. But they put loads of drums through the monitor, which was nice, but I couldn't hear the click. And I was like, I'm going to have to do something about this. Like when we got to the actual gig, I'm going to have to move the monitor around a little bit or do something. And then during the first song, the monitor just fell off the speaker it was on. And suddenly I was like, oh, now all I can hear is the click and track. So I'm just going to keep with this. But point I'm getting to, which is taking me forever to get to, is, isn't it weird the difference between, like, I don't know, when you can hear and feel your kit and when you can't? Because the amount of times I played a gig where you're like, I don't know, especially like a small room, and you're playing the kick pedal and you're like, I can't hear anything. Like there's nothing in my monitor. And then the difference between when you do hear your kick and you're like, oh, this is nice. And
get some of that sweet kick in your ears, boy.
Exactly. You know? Yeah.
Because otherwise, what's the point?
What's the point?
In anything. Just going back to like, I just distinctly remember playing some festivals and like, you know, those sort of all day city sort of festival things like Camden Rocks and stuff. And I always found the biggest issue with using the sort of house kits was one, there was always one, it was like the rack tom was clamped to the cymbal stand.
Yeah.
And it was like on a ball and socket joint that was just, could never get the right fucking angle. Or if I wanted it sort of quite close over the kick drum, then the cymbal stand was just too close and in the way.
Yep.
Fucking annoying. But I think the most common error made with house kits is there's never any dampening in the kick drum. And if people hire kits in, you know, for festivals or these things, there's never the amount of times I've had to put my own jumper and coat in the kick drum.
Yeah.
And you just get, and the skin's really tight and you just get this like boom.
Yeah.
Boom. It's like, it sounds shit.
Yeah.
Come on. Think about it. Get a duck down feather pillow in there.
Exactly.
And it's just like, boys, can I have all your jumpers, please?
Yeah.
Shoving them in. And then I have to remember to take them out before the next band.
It's always the high tom. Yeah, make the next band sound like shit. It's always the high tom that you'll hit it and the note will last forever.
Yeah.
And it'll be a load of different tones as well. You just give it one hit and it's just like
a choir of toms.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you just get these kits and they're just, I get it. It's easier if everyone just uses the same so they don't have to keep having loads of kits backstage and bringing them on. But it's like, it just would sound better with my kit.
Yeah.
And that's why I like to, like Ben Thomas said, you want to be able to replicate your comfortable surroundings at gigs. And until you get to that level, it's quite hard to do. So for me, my stool, my snare stand, because I know I set my snare stand up, that snare's going to be at the perfect height. The stool's going to be at the perfect height for me to sit on. And I can just get everything where I want. And just floor tom, that's easy. That's very easy to get how you want it, Rack tom, depends if it's mounted in the bass drum or it's on a... I, have mine on a snare stand, as you well know. But if it's like rack mounted, it's like, it's a fucking pain in the ass. Because it makes a difference. It makes a big difference. Yeah. It's like going guitarist and going, cool, you've got to use an in-house guitar. Yeah. And the strings are slightly further apart than you used to. Yeah. Yes, you're playing a guitar, but it's just not what you're used to, is it? Slightly different.
I wonder what it's like for those, the top drummers that are used to playing arenas and stuff and having every sound perfect. What they'd be like if they had to then play a shitty gig with no monitors. Do you know what I mean? Because I remember Ben Thompson, I think his name is, the guy from Two Door Cinema Club. And he had one of those Porter and Davies monitor stools. And he was like, I literally can't do a gig without one of these now. Like if I do a gig and I don't have my kick drum coming up my arse, basically, then I just can't play. And I was like, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you add all these things and then it doesn't take anything away from your playing, but it'd be interesting to see, if you get like Chad Smith or any of them and go, see if you can play the edge of the wedge and see how you like it. You know what I mean? Like, see how horrible it is. Because just having just every monitor blasting at you, like, this is easy. Not easy, but
Yeah. I reckon though that they'd still be great.
Yeah, it'd still be great.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because fundamentally, they're just still really good.
They'd still be great, but I wonder. I think on
a personal level, can you go? You work your way up, and you get yourself a lovely Audi, and then you got to go back to a Peugeot. It's like, I can still drive it fine. Yeah, but I was quite used to the Audi.
I think that's what I mean. Like, how big is the jump for them? Do you know what I mean? Because I get used to nice function gig and nice sound because Neil's on sound. And then I do a gig where there's no monitor. I'm like, this is awful. Yeah. But if you're used to like top end, I think that's what I mean. Like, how weird is it? They have to do like, but they'd still be great. It'd be
because that's the thing. You should be able to be good in any situation.
You
should be able to be good. And if you're, and I found, decades, been 10 years. It's been a decade of decade. Okay, we played in all sorts of places. Yeah, and fundamentally, we're still good because we've just done it. We know it so well. It's like you should know your set well enough that like you can still do it if your in-ears fall out. Yeah. You can still do it if there's a fucking bridesmaid shouting at you. Yeah, going, "Can Johnny play your drum kit?" I can still play the song. But you get helped by all these nice things around you. Yeah. You should be able to still do it. You shouldn't be thrown off by a slightly different situation.
It is something to throw you off.
Know your shit. Listen. Yeah. That's why you got to know what everyone else is doing in the band. You got to know. You got to listen. People don't listen enough, George. Like me right now. Not listening to you. Oh, so, Wren.
Yeah. I thought you were going to talk about your phone call. Can we get to that?
Yeah, we can get to that. I was going to say, you said, Connor, come see us at the Joiners.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, he didn't want to.
Yeah.
But he was like...
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, but, he had a good excuse that he was doing a gig with you.
Amazing excuse.
Anyway, I was like, yeah, I'll come. Do you know what I mean? You see me at the Joiners, I'll come see you Joiners. I mean, what day is it?
Friday.
25th of November?
25th, yeah.
Yeah, you see. It's World Cup, isn't it?
Yeah, well, don't worry about that.
Yeah, but it's England, isn't it?
No, no, you can't pull out now.
But it's
Do you know how
England,
hard it
England,
is?
England, USA at 7:00.
Do you know how hard it is? Well, watch that and then come watch us. Watch it in a
Yeah,
pub.
well, what time are you playing?
Don't know. After like they're 9 probably.
All right.
Yeah. Don't. Oh my God, it's a nightmare trying to get people to come to a gig in Southampton when you live in
Anyway,
Brighton.
and now England
Yeah.
are playing the USA.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest, one of the biggest. Yeah.
But not just that. Even people in Portsmouth. You ask any mate, "Oh, do you want to come to Southampton?" A bit far, mate. So heavily relying on the rest of the band to fill that venue because, as you know, not in a cunty way, nothing more depressing than a not very well sold out joiners.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's one of the worst things. There's something about that venue that's just. Don't think I've ever had a good gig there.
No, I've never seen a good gig there.
It's just weird.
I once supported a band there with City Skies, and City Skies' parents made up more of the crowd than that band bought. And then after we finished playing, we stayed out of sympathy, and they were awful. God, they were bad. Yeah. And they were putting on this tour and they played like the Joiners, Wedredrums, and all those kind of size places, but they didn't sell any tickets. And I was like, you poor band. Like, I feel like they got some, where someone's like, oh, we were number 4 in the iTunes rock chart. And you're like, that doesn't mean anything really. Like in the kindest way, wait till it's the Billboard, then tell me. But like, yeah. So I think they were like, oh, we'll go on tour. We'll do a big tour. And yeah, it was awful. It was terrible. Played to an empty Joiners. But so
as we all have.
Let's not have that happen on Friday the 25th. Although,
Well, I just tricky, isn't it?
No, it's not. Go to a pub, watch the game, and then come see me.
I've had
not
it before.
tricky at all.
Oh,
Easy.
Going on tour with Frank Turner's side project. Great. Oh, it's the fucking World Cup.
Yeah. We had it. My first ever wedding gig in 2015. It was for my cousin actually, and all his mates are like rugby players. He's not a rugby player, but it happened that a lot of them were rugby players, and it was the Rugby World Cup, and it was like England were in the semi-final or something, or maybe even the final. I can't remember. And it was on as we were playing, and everyone was just watching the telly, and we were like, should we wait or should we just, it's just draining,
I've done that, been in that situation so many times, World Cup, Euros. And obviously when they booked the wedding, they had no idea. And then, England fixtures have been released.
Yep.
And, even last summer, I had England, Ukraine.
Yeah.
On
the gig
my
I
phone
was
while
on.
playing. Yeah.
Yeah, we all watched it, didn't we?
Yeah.
There was a goal within, because our set started as the match started.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, it was a goal. We've only just started, Valerie.
Band are really pumped up for this gig.
Yeah.
Harry Maguire's just headed in an absolute beauty. 4 minutes in. Come on, let's go.
God, Harry Maguire, he was so great in that, and now he's just a meme, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's
a bit lost, bless him.
Yeah.
But, still, Winter World
before
Cup.
we end,
Weird. Yeah.
I want to hear about this phone call that you keep teasing me with.
So, as you know, I own a recording studio.
Yeah.
But just about to get set up for doing this, and then the studio phone rang, and hello, the old blacksmiths, and music attracts all sorts.
Yep.
It's attracted me. It's attracted you. 2 white middle class bald men, all sorts, who play drums.
Every demographic.
And a lot of the time here people get in touch about recording, and a lot of the time we have to do some detective work as to what it is they actually want.
Yeah.
And some people get put off by that work. But basically, I think if you phone up someone and go, oh, I want can you put a new garden fence in? Well, they're going to have some questions, aren't they? Like, where's your house? How big's your garden? What colour fence do you want? What material do you want it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we just get a lot of the time, how much is it to record? And you're like, well,
Yeah.
what do you want to record?
Yeah.
Recording a voiceover is incredibly different to recording a singer, which is incredibly different to recording a band, which is, a lot of the time, as you know, we get people phoning up. They want to come record a song today.
Mm.
You're like, well, no.
Mm.
But yeah, so I answered the phone and it's like, oh, is this the old blacksmith? I said, yeah. He said, oh, I'm looking to do some recording. How much is it? I said, well, what are you looking to record? Well, I'll be honest, I can't sing.
Great stuff.
Okay. Well, what sort of thing are you trying to do? He said, oh, well, I can't sing, but I'm hoping, you could use a bit of auto-tune. Okay, well, what sort of thing did you want to sing, Well, it's kind of a bit hip-hop, a bit pop. Okay. Do you have any music? No. Okay. So what are you looking to do?
Yeah.
Well, I just really want to write a song.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So have you any experience with writing music? No. Okay.
Yeah.
So you basically, so I sort of said, so you've got some lyrics, but you don't have any music and you can't really sing.
Mm.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. I think you might be a little bit too in the early stages of your career to be coming to a studio. I was like, if you want us to basically write a song for you,
teach you how to sing,
make the music and do everything, that's quite a lot of work and quite a lot of money. So I said, well, what I suggest you do is find some free beats online. You can find some free loops and beats and music. You can download them. Then I suggest just writing your song to that. And then when you think, yeah, you've got the song written, send it to us and we can see what you've done and see if we think we can help. But I don't know about you, mate, George, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Brave, isn't it?
It's brave. Some of the phone calls. Do you remember the one where the guy said he was like, "I've written a song. It's not a rap, but can I just show it to you?" This was over the phone. You told me about this phone conversation, and you were like, "It was a rap. It was him trying to rap. It was some guy in his middle age, and it was just like, and you were like." What do I do with that? What do I do?
Yeah.
And my favorite one, I think, was the guy that was like, I've written a song, but I have no band. And do you remember that? Like, I'll try and be vague, but it was the one who filmed himself in his bathroom.
Yeah.
And he was just singing a cappella.
Yeah.
And we were like, he's quite good. But
he's been in.
Oh, really?
He came in with Neil.
Oh, shit.
Last weekend. And so with him, it was like, yeah, there's something in there.
Yeah.
And I had to talk him down from like, you can't just come and record that.
No.
Like, there is nothing to record. You've got an idea and kind of a chorus. So I said, why don't you book a few hours with Neil and he will just help you finish writing the song and sort of turn it into a song. But you're probably not going to record anything. You might record a demo version of it, but he's going to help you turn it into a song with structure and help you put some chords to it. And you'll probably just record a demo. And once that's done, then you can think about and chat with Neil about maybe how you'd want to record it properly. Would you want it just guitar, just piano, or would you want to do it as a sort of band? So he actually did come in, but there was something about him that was a bit Gallagher-esque.
Yeah, oh my God,
like he could kind of sing an Oasis-style chorus.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think when you phone up and I don't know, when you openly admit, oh, I can't sing. Well, then I don't think it's for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I come and book a day at the racetrack, but I can't drive?
Yeah.
Well, I think you might need to learn to drive first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before you can do that.
Yeah. Can you come and paint my fence? But I don't have a fence,
Yeah, so it's just a bit baffling, like.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of I don't know if it annoys me or it's just frustrating. And it's like there's no barrier to entry with music.
No.
there's no, I think with other roles in specified things that are skilled, it's kind of an entry. Like you can't just.
Yeah.
But it's a sort of hobby for people.
Well, as we've said, when people go to that studio, they lose their minds. They're just different people. It's like people become idiots, basically.
Yeah.
And it probably is a bit of that. It's like they're like, it's the opposite of work. They finish work for the day. Now it's like, oh, I'm going to come to the studio and have fun. And it's like, people don't know how to use a coffee machine when they get there,
Yeah. But it just boggles my mind, phoning a studio, but I can't sing.
Yeah.
And I've got no music written. I've got nothing, but I want to do it. And you're like, and I don't know. I kind of have to like gently bat them away.
Yeah.
And just be like, there's a lot more work you need to do before you come here. Or just, I can tell instantly, this isn't for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, when you get a band or singer who go, oh, I've written these songs, I want to record them. Here's a demo. Fucking brilliant. Fucking brilliant. But you do get a lot of... It just attracts nutters and weirdos, mate.
It does.
And people think they can do it and they can't.
Yeah.
And that's not to say we don't help people, but you got to have something. You can't do it all. Would you want me to sing it for you as well? Yeah.
Well, it's that level of studio as well, isn't it? Where it's like you do, records a lot of really good bands. So it's like, that's where your worth is. But then it's like, I don't know, I feel like if it's a top end studio, the people that are like that, they won't even go to those, or they'll get filtered out before it is even a thing. And then maybe they'll then record at someone else's. But when it's like somewhere in the middle, it's like, it's up to
like
you.
Some people have this like Hollywood vision of what a studio is.
Yeah.
Come in and just spend all day writing and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you got to have something to start with.
Yeah.
But then also as well, like, it's going to cost you a fuck ton of money.
Yeah. And also it's that idea of like, people get excited by, I don't know, it is, you see, famous artists going, oh yeah, we're at the studio today, and it's like, it is like an event. And I think they do think, it's just a place you can hang out and then write a hit tune. And it's like, I don't know, there's so much more to it. And as you said, it is like, it's a song and we're here to record it at any level. That is what it is. And I don't know, mental. People are natters.
Yeah, that'll
do. Yeah. Okay.
Twitter, Instagram, email, get in touch.
Yeah. And if you don't like football, I'm playing a gig on Friday, the 25th of November at the Joiners with Wren, supported by Villains, Josh Rose band.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And someone else called Tally Spear. I don't know who that is, but I'm sure they're great as well. But
Where can people get tickets?
Where can people get tickets? Good question. Let's try that again.
Where can people get the tickets? Where can people get the tickets?
Joiners.com and then just find Wren, 25th of November. I got a few physical tickets, but you'd probably have to know me, on a personal level and see me before the gig. And I keep my circle small, seeing you tomorrow, but that's purely on a technicality of I'm coming to the studio to rehearse.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, with Wren. So, yeah.
Getting your practice in. Got
Big
to
time.
be rehearsed.
Got to be rehearsed. You got 3 rehearsals before the gig. Well, we just done a gig. Can't that count as a rehearsal? But, joking. Original, innit? You can't just wing it. It's not Brown Eyed Girl. Although, people do wing that. So...
Yeah. That's astounding. Anyway. Good seeing you, boy.
Yeah, you too. Covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some shit in there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it any good?
Was that good? Yeah, was that good? I don't know. It might have been shit. That might have been our worst episodes, but it also might have been our best.
Yeah.
I think it felt weird because we talked about drums.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we're actually talking about gigs and drums.
Yeah. And I think it's a bit weird. Like, I've sort of not got any gigs now for a bit. Maybe. Yeah. Don't know.
See?
Just
could all change. Could get a residency at the...
Ramada Inn, Reading.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Drum and Drummer. You can find us on Instagram at Drum and Drummer Podcast. And you can send us an email to drumanddrummerpod@gmail.com. Remember, just pick up the sticks and twat it.